Ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, welcome back to Valpo League of Legends Esports. This is the NECC group stage for Nationals. I'm your host, Ikembe. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Mike.
And I mean, as we go into draft here against Holy Cross, uh, looking for a couple of new picks. Not really much of the meta change. Obviously, we're waiting out, till mid-season to get the massive ADC changes. But until then, pretty mellowed out. Holy Cross starting with the Xayah ban makes sense, right? Valpo going with the Diana as well, taking out that hard carry. Um, but we shouldn't really see any special changes, I'd say, like to this draft that we haven't seen Valpo pick up before. Um, might see there's the ASOL ban. Yep, we know that
Yeah,
Jakimbo has a really high win rate in NECC playing that ASOL, specifically because he chooses it in very niche situations, but Valpo's just taking out every AP jungler they can. They do not want to play. We might see an Evelyn ban as well, and make it at least like fit the group.
yeah. I mean, these bands from Holy Cross are just, what we're used to all season. There's the Syndra coming in, another target on Jakimbo. So
Yep.
two of the three devoted to our mid laner here. And Valpo now in their court. Let's see if they'll ban a third jungler, I guess.
Hey, AP Gwen! Yeah!
Yeah.
I was correct. No, but I mean Holy Cross going with the ASOL and the Syndra ban, obviously maybe looking to fight a little bit earlier. You get that Xayah out. You don't want that heavy scaling. You want to be able to just group yourself up, force that kind of early to mid game on them, and going with the Seraphine as well, trying to a heavy scaling support. So I'd say that yeah, I misspoke a little bit earlier. I'm saying that Holy Cross, yep, there's the Melio lock. Holy Cross might be looking to outscale, so let's get rid of those heavy scaling mid lanes that Jakimbo likes to play. But Valpo going with the R1 Melio and the R2 Malphite as the
Yeah.
secondary, maybe being careful, it could be a pick ban this game. Malphite being super strong in meta right now.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking to me, before stream about this Melio, about how strong he is, especially with some of the ADCs that Dreadful's been playing, and then
Hmm.
Malphite, we know, I mean, I think undoubtedly, Anaya's best champion that we've
Yep.
seen her play, so
Definitely. Not only just like in lane, we've seen her just kind of bully people in lane, but also joining those team fights. Malphite is just probably the heaviest scaling armor tank in the game right now. Any kind of armor shred that you can run on Holy Cross right now would be super helpful, but you will get the Senna bot, so this might be a Seraphine mid. Might have the flex pick for this Seraphine here, which we haven't, it's not new in NECC to see this Seraphine mid, but you have to be careful because Valpo does like to take those kind of heavy, strong damage mid lanes. So Holy Cross is gonna have to rely on either a carry jungle or a carry top lane, right, to pair along with this ADC, or you might just not get enough damage.
yeah. And also, Holy Cross, really thinking
See?
about this one. They've burned out the timer on these last two picks. I'm not
Yep.
sure
It
what
might
the
might have an error going on.
what the situation is here, but we don't have any word in the chat, but they're now up to almost a
Uh,
minute on their B3 here, so
yeah.
very very interesting.
I mean, this might be like a connection thing. Hey, a little bit weird here. You going with the Yasuo? Okay. Um, doesn't look like that's a issue for them at least. Like, no chats or anything. And
Yeah,
notice that Valpo already banned out the Diana, which is the huge pairing with Yasuo. You want any knockup that you can. So Valpo obviously probably planned for their Yasuo mid, right, for some type of knockup champ to be played. And Valpo immediately drafting that Cassiopeia is going to open up Holy Cross to B4, B5, any ADCs that Valpo might be looking for. But I think Valpo is just taking the stronger picks right now.
yeah. I mean, very interesting that we do see, Jukimbo being picked here in this first pick phase, because typically we like to leave him for that second phase and, give him a little bit more options once he sees the draft play out. But here instead, he's going to lock up the Cassiopeia, but we've seen him perform on this champ, so
Definitely. And I mean, I'm a little bit worried for Holy Cross's draft right now because you saw the R2 Malphite, right? You had that, and into the R2 Malphite, you pick the Senna and you pick the Yasuo. Two people that, against Malphite, like late game especially, are just not going to touch him unless you get the Yasuo ult, like armor pen. But Holy Cross going really late again. We're not not sure if maybe it's some lag on their side. I'm giving them benefit of the doubt here that they're not like cheesing the
Yeah,
system
I
or
mean,
anything. I'm trying to do my best here, but I mean this is the second time. Come on now.
yeah, it's been.
Oh, we do have a league chat here.
Yes, we finally have a message. Just our coach inquiring on what the issue's been on
Yeah.
their side, but
I mean,
finally gonna ban away the Caitlyn. So obviously Valpo not picking up an ADC. Holy Cross gonna be able to ban some of those out.
yep. I mean, you ban Wukong because you need that armor shred, right? You get the Cho'Gath out, you don't have a tank to match Malphite, maybe outside of like a Scion, but then you get Wukong's armor shred out, and now Malphite is pretty well set up playing for this fight. And like you just said, Holy Cross trying to ban out those ADCs. Might see an Ezreal. There's the Jinx ban. Okay, it was gonna be Ezreal Jinx. We know that he likes to play those, but now I think Valpo is open for might draft my friend with two guns here. I
Yeah.
not
I,
not trying to give it away here, but we might see a Senna's counterpart
I
on
mean,
Valpo's side here.
even though they have banned away, three ADCs, it does feel like there are still a lot of strong options here for Dreadful.
Yep.
It's just going to be a matter of what they go with and when. Now Valpo's
And
going
now
to run
Valpo's
down the
doing the same
clock,
thing.
so
There it is. Yep. Okay. There's the Lucian pick. I know I was talking with my co-host here, Mike, about this early game, but Lucian and Melio is kind of that pairing that uh people didn't put together, but now that they're putting it together, Melio might need another nerf because Melio's E and W both proc Lucian on hit passive, in early game, we're talking level 2, Lucian can 100 to 0 his laner, right? Has the dash, has the Q, doesn't even need W, and can just walk up and melt people. So now Holy Cross is put in a position where, okay, it's going to be tough to face the Malphite. It's going to be tough to face the Lucian here, and you have a heavy scaler like Cassiopeia. You really have to start, focusing on your own team comp. I feel like they've picked kind of comfort for this R1, R2, R3. This R4, R5 is going to be kind of the key that is going to give them win cons because I really don't see a win con right now on Holy Cross's side because of how Valpo drafted.
yeah, I mean these next two picks are going to be
Yeah, I mean,
super
this is another
crucial.
negative 35 seconds. I think
Yeah,
this is just out of spite at this point. I don't even think Holy Cross like exists. They
yeah.
gotta have like Chat GPT drafting for him right now because this is bad.
Yeah,
Um,
so I mean, I'm not sure exactly, what the rules are, but
yeah.
obviously running down the clock a lot here on these picks. But like we said, going to be two very crucial picks that kind of define their team comp here. They're going
hmm
to go with the Mordekaiser B4.
Yeah. I mean, Mordekaiser might be jungle, might be top. We're gonna see with this last pick. But I don't think the more jungle would be the best option here. Into the Malphite, I think Mordekaiser is a great pick. Um, and we have another negative. Honestly, Holy Cross, I'm about to go get a sandwich if you guys don't like draft here. I can go up to like the cafe and probably eat my lunch and come back down with all the extra time that you spent on these drafts. This has got to be unfair. Oh,
Yeah,
we gotta get somebody looking at this. Come on. But
yeah. So
there's the Maokai jungle. Yep. So, I mean, the Mordekaiser really, I think, is the key to this draft here because he can run over a lot of these or a lot of Valpo's like people, but Malphite is just more useful when it comes to a team fighting aspect than Mordekaiser would be. The Maokai ult is super useful into Valpo's team comp because you have Cass with the move speed, you have Lucian you have to lock down Lucian somehow. Melio, the only issue is that you have Melio R because now you can't cleanse airborne anyways, right? So you're not really looking for like a Yasuo cleanse to knock up. You could cleanse the Mordekaiser if he ults Melio, I guess, but a majority of it is just going to be okay, cleanse the Seraphine R, cleanse the Maokai R, right? That's kind of the offering that you have for Melio. But again, Holy Cross not really looking too hot on the draft right now. I don't feel like it's at least when we're talking from like a team top down perspective. But obviously these are comfort picks for Holy Cross. Holy Cross has won multiple times before with funky comps like this, and
Yeah.
there's
Overall, I mean, I think Valpo's comp here is, very, very strong. We've talked about, the bot lane combo
the
between the Milio and the Lucian, and then also, I mean, Cassiopeia, Malphite, Jarvan, like these are top tier picks
yeah.
for our 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 players in those solo lanes. So
Yeah. Cassiopeia, probably the best mid laner in the game right now. Just one of the heaviest scalers, especially with Rod of Ages Seraphs. You just get too tanky, you run down people, you're way faster than a majority of people. Um, and with Valpo's team comp, you have the heavy scaling Malphite, you have heavy scaling Cass, and then you have the Jarvan for R5 for ganking bot side, and you have a heavy skirmish bot. So Jarvan, if Vector plays this correctly, Jarvan should literally just sit bot side this whole game.
Yeah.
I think we can predict this as well because he's not akin to doing the areas. This is not something new that he does, but if you just sit bot side 24/7 this game, Lucian and Emilio are not afraid to fight.
Oh
You are
yeah.
going to get KP after KP after KP, keep running that because you're facing a Seraphine Senna bot lane, right?
Yeah.
So facing the Seraphine Senna bot lane who want to scale, who don't really have much fighting potential outside of maybe like a level 1,
Yeah.
um, you're going to have prio over and over and over again on that side. You can let your cast scale as long as you keep the jungle pressure off, and Malphite can play very safely under tower.
Oh.
Um, and we know that Anaya loves like playing the limits of Malphite.
Oh
She's
yes.
very good at bouncing between these kind of set boundaries that you have for like Malphite kills, Malphite deaths, things like that. So not really worried about her. You can leave her on an island on the top side here and let the rest of your team play underneath that.
Yeah. First of all, shout out Debbie for the follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
And also, to kind of set the stage for this, we didn't have too much time to intro, but this is, the Nationals, right?
Yeah.
So we're seeing Holy Cross, who's an opponent that we hadn't seen all year because,
Yep.
they were kind of in the Emergence New England division. We were in the Emergence Mid East division. We did very well there. We're the second team overall out of all of the emergents, and
Mhm.
Holy Cross, I believe, is the 15th. So
Yep.
definitely Valpo, kind of a big favorite here. But it is interesting because it's a new opponent, someone we hadn't seen before.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to consider how the game changes from region to region, right? And
Hmm.
even in NECC college, this is very true, right? Because we've seen a lot of our regions take these very heavy team fighting comps, right? And with, Holy Cross's draft today, it's a lot of like, comfort picks, a lot of like, okay, I'm good on this champ, like I know I can play this, and it's more of just a focus on like diffing the opponent, right?
Yeah.
So having this kind of like clash of regions here for this first round, I'm excited to see what goes on because we know how Valpo likes to play these kind of drafts. I personally love Valpo's draft here.
Yeah.
Um,
As
this is
we
one of
can
the
pull
best
it up
drafts.
here and take
Yeah,
another look.
this is one of the best drafts they had in a while. Um, quite frankly, with like not only just synergy but how the map flows, because map flow is a big part of like drafting champions here. Um, but I have to see, I mean, how they're gonna go into this, team comp here because if I'm looking, it looks like a Merc Treads angle, right? Because you have the Mordekaiser, you have the Maokai, you have the Seraphine, and Senna and Yasuo can kind of get jumped on by Malphite and then not do anything. That,
Yeah.
that's that's the tough part is that Malphite now has people to solo out in team fights, and the rest of J4, Lucian, Emilio, the rest of them can kind of just free roam on the rest of their team.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I guess to talk, a little bit about, the game, about our team. It's been a while, since we've seen these guys. It was
Hmm.
3 weeks ago that you casted the very fateful loss against ERAU, which
Terrible,
we won't mention, we won't talk
terrible.
about too much, but. And then 4 weeks ago, we also had the loss to Tiffin. So kind
Yeah.
of from an outside, viewer perspective, Valpo's closed out this semester a little rough with those two losses, but it was 3 weeks ago. So what have they been doing to kind of, build up for these nationals?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the best solution to going on lose streaks like that is just to take a break.
Yeah,
I know after like the week of, those two losses back to back, the heartbreaking losses as well, going to game three. Um, after that, a majority of the players were just like, I'm not going to touch the game for a week, right?
hmm,
Like, I have this many weeks to prep for nationals. I have this, right? I need to mental reset. And
yeah,
mental reset Valpo did. You're seeing a lot of their players, especially, we're talking about Dreadful, we're talking Jakimbo here, coming back. into this game much more positive than they were in that last series, um, playing that ERAU team. So coming into this draft, right, this last couple weeks they've been scrimming. I feel like a big part to the team is that they've been limit testing a lot of champs. Um, we haven't necessarily seen like crazy picks. Like I know Emma Jacimbo liked to pick the Casante mid. Seeing
Uh-huh.
that a couple of times at MSI recently.
Yeah, maybe the
Um,
Nautilus mid,
yeah,
right?
the not
Yeah.
mid as well coming out too. But I know that Lucian Milio has been just lab tested, lab tested, lab tested by our ADC Dreadful and our support Steamroller. We know that you have Vector being able to play around his team here, playing a lot of like games with them, making sure you know stay up on the task. But I think the biggest thing for Valpo going in this series, coming off that lose streak, is they just took a break. They
Yeah.
they they mental reset. They're coming back to this game, and I'm excited to see because obviously, you know, solo queuing and flex queuing is not the same as playing NECC. So I'm excited to see, you know, especially for this game one, um, what kind of tempo Valpo wants to bring out to this fight. Because with this draft, I feel like Valpo controls a lot of the tempo of this game. They're gonna force Holy Cross into a lot of really, really uncomfortable fights and opportunities, and that's where Valpo does best.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to talk about, how big the mental aspect is in esports. You can be by far the more skilled team, like they probably were in the
Yeah.
ERAU series, and still lose. If your mental is off, if you're not approaching the game in the right way, if you're not working together and communicating and all these kinds of intangibles. So, I
Mhm.
mean, on paper, Valpo, this should be a win. This should be a 2-0. But like you said, it's about how they approach it. And if they're coming in and they're not starting on that good tempo,
Yep.
it could be a much closer series. So,
Yeah. And I think this is truth for like all sports really is that when
yeah.
you come into a game like an underdog game that Holy Cross is facing right now, as someone that's favored to win, you need to control tempo. That's the whole point of the game. If you allow an underdog to start gaining support, right, start gaining this kind of gold lead, we're talking like league here, it gets really hard to maintain that lead that you are supposed to have. So for Valpo this game, you really just have to accept that, hey, I have to control this game, right?
Hmm.
I have to take fights in bot side. I have to trust my team to follow up on my fights, right? You cannot wait for them to make a decision because at that point you're already taking the back foot. You have the front foot, you have it given to you this game. You have to take that step. And I feel like that mental reset we were talking about is really going to let Valpo kind of play to their skills this game.
And now we're loading in here. We see, I always love to see the matching Darkstar Malphite and Darkstar Jarvan.
hmm
But, more importantly, we're getting to look at the summoners. What are you seeing here? Anything jumping out in there?
I mean, I think the biggest part is that you do have the comet taken on Anaya, right? Rather than the usual like aftershocks or different like shielding options that Malphite gives. But I do actually like that rune pick. I think into this lane, especially into Mordekaiser, who compared to, you know, relatively other tanks, builds a little bit less tanky. You want that more poke early game to compete with Mordekaiser Q and W, or Q and E, sorry. So, taking a rune like Arcane Comet, which we've seen Anaya take on Malphite before, although you don't get the capabilities like of shielding and conditioning as fast, you still do gain a lot taking that resolve tree secondary, and you get that poke in lane that's gonna help you just rotate faster.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Anaya's loadout here, I feel very confident that she can handle herself in this top lane. Overall, kind of one of those most consistent players on Valpo. Never really has had like a
Yep.
bad game, aside from one I can think of, but we won't mention that
Yeah.
one.
If we're not talking off meta picks, I do agree with you. I think Anaya is the most consistent player on this team on her champs.
Yes.
Anaya and Steamroller are
Mhm.
definitely the most consistent, right? Because we see Jakimbo, but Jakimbo has to scale really hard, right? A lot of the champs he plays scale hard. And if you don't get that opportunity during the games, it becomes a little bit tough. But when you have teams like Valpo, where you're playing tanks, you're trying to make an impact, it becomes really, really tough. And we do see a lane swap as well. Um, I should probably mention this earlier, but I do like the idea of a lane swap here into this Yasuo because we talked about how Malphite kind of just shuts down Yasuo, and Cassiopeia is really movement based into this Mordekaiser. So why not just swap the lane? Why not make Yasuo just an insanely tough lane to face? All Malphite has to do is wait for the armor passive, right? You got to
Yeah.
get a couple levels up, and then you can start really taking efficient trades for yourself. But until then, this lane is going to seem a little bit sided, but you're noticing there, just kind of tickling. But there's that engage as well we were talking about. You get the on-hit passive of both Melio E and W, and right there, just half health Seraphine off of a basic like 3 ability engage, right? Or 2 ability engage, excuse me.
Man, this switch up was something that I was not expecting, and I don't think Holy Cross was expecting either.
Yep,
And I mean, it can certainly go in Valpo's favor. I don't think we've ever seen MF Jacimbo in the top lane in
yep.
any of these games that I've been on throughout the past year. So, very, very interesting. Pulling out the lane swap, game one of Nationals. I mean, if anyone's going to do it, it's Valpo, right?
Definitely. I mean, I think this is the best choice they could have made. It's a little bit risky, obviously, running any lane swap with like your usual laners, but against this comp that they're facing with Holy Cross, I think this was a great option because now Yasuo doesn't have the roam potential early he would on a Cassiopeia, and Mordekaiser does not have the shred that he would on a Malphite. So you lane swap, you make Holy Cross uncomfortable, and now those kind of comfort picks that they opted to choose are really tough in lane and even worse in those team fights.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the advantage of, these kind of flex picks, although Cassiopeia top is not your traditional variety,
Yep.
but
And we do have the early gank as well, Vector. The flash from Seraphine, but the knock-up as well in First Blood going to Lucian. The exhaust on him is not going to be enough. You do see Maokai maybe trying to get something mid here as well, waiting for Anaya to maybe jump up all in, pull at least tiny trade, but looks like Maokai will just take it back. And there's the first early gank. Early pressure in the lane, and that's what you're looking for, and a huge trade for Anaya. And you're seeing kind of after a couple levels how this Malphite becomes an issue for becomes a really big issue, excuse me,
yeah.
for Yasuo. It's
But
like
I,
glitched in the head there.
no, you're good. I mean, going back to bot lane, I don't think we'd said his name at all on this broadcast, but Vector showing up huge there,
Hmm.
and making his impact known, making sure we know, he's there on the Jarvan, and
Yep.
he can have such an impact on this Valpo team coming down for that early gank and helping Dreadful pick up first blood.
Definitely. And we're seeing him come back again. You know you have no flash on the Seraphine, so you can pressure up, give Dreadful a little bit of a free farm. And this is what I was talking about early, right? You should just spam gank bot this game.
Hmm.
You have scaling in Cassiopeia, you have scaling in Malphite. They don't have kill potential outside of like maybe Malphite are, right? You don't really have a big kill potential. Your kill potential is in your bot side. So taking these shots here, taking that gold generation, you do have Maokai walking up. Dreadful has to be really careful here. His E is on cooldown, having to dash away. Maokai kind of sitting in Tribush here, maybe looking for an opportunity. There's the Maokai coming out as well. Dreadful being forced to walk back. Steamroller looking for the Q, but the flash and W over might catch out Steamroller here as he's taking a lot of shots. There's the flash, the late one. The flash coming from Senna as well, but it's not going to be able to secure a kill as it is a failed gank bot side. Really strong by Steamroller there, holding onto that flash, knowing his limits, knowing his heal, and being able to just get away there, waste Maokai's time a little bit.
Yeah, very well played. I mean, I was thinking he was going to go down, but Steamroller, calm under pressure, able to slip his way out of there and deny a kill from Holy Cross. But they were looking to take the first dragon of the game.
Yep, definitely. I mean, you have the pressure of first drag because you did force that bot side. So, although you didn't get anything kill potential wise, you're at least rotated around. And I mean, if you're Valpo, you're in a position to give this. It's first dragon, hex tech, um, and you're still sitting at a little bit of a gold lead here. So quite frankly, you have a good opportunity at least to, hey, give this one. It's gonna be all fine. Let's just group up for next drag.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I still think, this early game favors Valpo as we see about a 500 gold lead in the early going. And of course, the first blood for Dreadful. Looking for
Yep,
more
and there's the
here.
flash as well in the shots. Maybe looking for another one. There it is. And you just see how nasty this combo is. Seraphine doesn't even have a chance to run away, honestly. I know no flash, so you did see the dreadful flash for that kill there, but you just if you think you know the limits of Lucian with Emilio, you don't, right? And that's kind of the biggest issue is that his on hit is procking so many times when Emilio is empowering that along with the first strike, along with that gold gen, you're gonna see Lucian really start to come up close on first item here. And against our team comp, I think you take Kraken.
Yeah, and now up to the 2 kills. This is exactly how
Ooh.
Valpo wanted the game to start. And you're talking about how powerful the combo is, but you
Hmm.
also mentioned how underlooked it is. This
Yep.
is something that's not, meta. I don't think we've seen, this get pulled out at MSI or anything.
Yep.
So it might not be something that Holy Cross was really expecting, and Valpo able to take kind of that combo that they theory crafted and
Yep. And there's just a ton of damage, even through Seraphine, maxed out like shield and heal. Still winning the trade very heavily with those shots there. And we will see a Skirmish mid lane here as well. The Malphite are coming out, and then a stun from Jakimbo, and great play around this Maokai here. Yasuo having to rotate, but it won't probably be enough as MF Jakimbo secures a kill there, giving Malphite, Anaya taking the kill on the Mordekaiser as well. Notice that Mordekaiser was looking for that shield, looking for, trying to get any type of delay off before that burst, but Anaya just times the ult really, really well. And you just see this kind of skirmish potential from these two. Even with the lane swap that Holy Cross swapped back, the damage had already been done. You had a lead on Emma Chikimbo, who is just, doing better right now in the lane. So
yeah.
for that little time, he gets the wave push out for that fight. And we see a couple of shots here as well. The ult on Lucian, the ult as well coming in from Seraphine. Waiting on the R for Steamroller, almost taking that shot. The exhaust going out, not going to be able to finish. It looks like Senna will be taking it back here. Both ults, or excuse me, not Senna ult, but Seraphine ult coming out, Lucian and heal. We do have a gank on this top side. Look for a 2v2. There's the ult coming from Yasuo. The ult as Maokai as well. Looking to R, but it's not going to be able to, as Anaya has to walk back away from this Yasuo. Great timing from that Maokai. And we might see a dive here. There's the W and then the flash away for Sora, and that is going to be a 2-0. Really well played by Holy Cross there, with knowing that, you don't have Malphite R up, which is huge in those team fights. You have both Yasuo and you have Yasuo and you have Maokai R up. Although Jarvan walks up, timing and making sure that, use your R on that Jarvan, try to burst him down first. Malphite doesn't really have the damage to 2v1 at this point. So
Yeah,
it's
I mean
just
that
target focus.
that was a massive pickup there for Holy Cross. Valpo with the first 4 kills of the game, is starting to get in kind of a dangerous state where they could run away from it. But now, that double kill top side, pulling them back in this game, certainly a lot closer here and a much needed pickup for them.
Definitely. I mean, we're seeing kind of this ring around the rosy game right now, I feel like, with Valpo trying to pick up, okay, where's the Mordekaiser? Let's swap cast there, right?
Yeah,
They're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, trying to figure out where to go. You're gonna see Malphite take a couple of shots here. There's the ultimate from Yasuo as well, getting that armor pen, trying to walk up, get that stun as well, holding that R until very last moment, getting pushed out of that lane. But you do see Rift Herald dropped bot side here, looking for as much damage on the tower, stacked wave, but you do see Maokai kind of hovering there. Not going to be able to dive this. Dreadful does E back in, taking a couple of shots. Being careful with the slow. Really tough. I mean, smart on that Maokai there, hovering for a little bit, not showing, because if they did decide to dive that on a stacked wave, it seems really great for Valpo, but Maokai could easily turn that away, especially having his R back up.
yeah. You talked about the swaps. It's just so funny to see, as soon as Holy Cross, swaps back to the matchup they want. Oh, well, now Valpo swap back to the matchup they want. So it
Yep.
really just is this back and forth of how can we get the Malphite into the Yasuo and the Cass into the Mordekaiser.
Yep, and we do see an engage here in the side as well. The CC chain being huge, but being able to dash away. The R from Senna not going to be able to pick up anything as Dreadful walks to just try a little bit. get a little bit of a trade here.
Yeah,
Not gonna be much,
Vector almost caught out. Would not have been good for Valpo there,
but that
but
is gonna be drag too.
yeah,
I think just although we did have those early ganks that did give Lucian that lead, Vector and Dreadful are just kind of out of sync right now. Just kind of showing up at different times, but you're seeing Holy Cross's sync really, really well here as they're gonna pick up this second Drake. Um, it's kind of tough because you have to start pairing with your team now. You can't spend any more time away from those drags now because with two drags, you don't want to put yourself in a position of 3 where potentially you give Baron for soul point. And he dashes into the charm there, waiting on the R. There's the R as well from Steamroller, cleansing that Maokai, but it might not be enough as the shutdown does go to Senna here. And that is going to be a great trade for uh, Holy Cross on the bot side. I think we're seeing Valpo just get a little bit too risky.
yeah.
Um,
I
you
mean,
know that Maokai's bot side here. You have to understand that he's bot side here. Um, and playing like that very up, using that E kind of jumping into that charm was just a little bit of a misplay on the side of Dreadful here.
yeah, and I mean, you showcased it early game about, how big the mentality was going to be coming into this game, and, now you're seeing, like you said, Dreadful and Vector kind of out of sync, This is the part of the game where I have some concern for Valpo. I mean, you're down 2 Drakes, you're getting caught out in situations where you shouldn't be, and, you're letting Holy Cross, take control, and they're the ones setting the tempo right now, so...
Yep. Definitely setting the tempo with a couple of these kills here. Just had a little bit more coordination when it comes to rotations with the team, but you have to be careful now. Anaya waiting on that first item. Once Frostfire Gauntlet is made, though, it's going to become a lot harder for Yasuo to trade in that lane. I'm assuming you're going to go Frostfire into Frozen Heart against this team especially. I feel like it's just too strong of a combo right now to just shut down this Yas. Because I feel like their win condition would be in that Yas and Mordekaiser. You see the flash over the wall. The W coming in from Maokai following him. Senna walking up into River, but not going to get much as Maokai is just forced to walk back. Probably, walk back to the lane here.
As we're starting to think about, the later stages of this game.
Yep, and there's the R as well, jumping immediately on that Yasuo. There's the knockup as well. Anaya picking up that kill. A quick engage, blink and you'll miss kind of kill there, but...
Yeah, very clean. We talked about Vector's presence all over this map. This time he pops up mid lane and very quick kill onto the Yasuo.
Yep, definitely.
As I was saying earlier,
we do have an engaged
if
bot
we get a
side
break
here.
in
You
the
might get
action.
interrupted again. There
Yeah.
we go.
We're kind of starting to look toward the later stages, and I mean, team fights are really going to be a huge part of how this plays out. Looking at the comps, who do you favor in these 5v5s, and what needs to happen in them?
Honestly, I think we have to hold the Malphite R until you see Yas. Yas and Senna, because obviously you're looking for the big Malphite Rs, but those are going to be the people that are jumping on your backline. Using the Malphite R as kind of more of a peel if you're not hitting, like the big engage, would be really useful, especially because Yas has to jump face first, right? If he jumps to the back of your line, you have very safe dash away with Lucian, right? If you just hold that instead of, maybe using it for the combo, I feel like zoning him is going to be an essential part to this fight. You just have to be careful, though, is who is Mordekaiser going to choose to ult, right? Because I talk about, zoning this, zoning that, but sometimes your peel can get taken away if Mordekaiser just decides to R. So...
Yeah, as we're seeing here, a little bit of a lull in the action. Valpo still slightly favored by 1k gold, but Holy Cross with the 2 Drakes giving them a lot of control and ability to dictate the pace of this game.
Definitely. I mean, as we see third Drake coming up in 50 seconds here, we have to see, yep, there's a Vector now pathing the spot side, trying to give up maybe a couple of, camps, a little bit of gold to reset his tempo with the bot side, and that's what we were looking for. Not waiting that full clear, and now you have this gank trying to just shove this wave in. If you get wave prio here, it's going to create a much better fight for you later on. We do have the Merc Treads taken by Anaya instead of getting that Frostfire, so we're not going to see the Mythic for this Dragon fight, but we probably will see a rotation. There's the Rift Herald trying to take this bot side tower, getting it before the Rift Herald charges off, so I mean, we might see Holy Cross try and sneak a dragon behind this, but I think Valpo is just too strong a prio. There's the R coming out from Yasuo as well. The Ignite popping off, walking back, trying not to take any tower shots here. Anaya is going to survive that, but he is knocked out, or she is knocked out for that fight. Vector engaging on this Maokai here. You have to be careful. Yasuo might walk down this jungle here. There's the R from Lucian. Couple ults blown. You're not really going to see a big ult except for this maybe Maokai. There's the R on the Yas. Flashing away. The R from Senna as well. And then the W from Seraphine. Getting a ton of shield popping off. But the kill for Emma Chikimbo. Huge art from Seraphine. There's the ult from Maokai as well. Just trying to use it to peel away. But Vector does make it through after the cleanse from Melio. The flash and R not going to be able to stun, but does get the slow on this Maokai. They're still just walking down. It is a 3v4. Jakimbo canceled a couple autos. The exhaust going out on him. The knockup from Vector as well. The Gore Drinker. And then Jakimbo securing that kill for on Maokai. Huge fight, picking up 2 kills for Jakimbo there. Being able to pick out, get that flash from the Yasuo as well. And that's going to clear up 4-second drag. That was kind of the rotation we're looking for. Taking fights in their own hands, right?
Yeah.
We talked about how we had the engage, we had everything blown on kind of that mid fight when it came to like ultimates like Yasuo and things like that. So after seeing that, Vector immediately walks up flash ult, right?
Yeah.
Or not flash ult, excuse me, but ult, and gets the flash from Yasuo.
Yeah, and I mean the other big part is, like we were saying, Holy Cross able to take Anaya out of that fight, keep her very low, but they didn't have the advantage because the whole time Mordekaiser was in top lane with no TP, so they still had to take an even 4v4, and Jakimbo just coming through clutch, claiming that one for Valpo.
Yep. I mean, that was huge on MF Chikimbo's rotation because if he because he rotates there, that allows Anaya to back, and not only back, but stop the Mordekaiser push top lane. And now it's almost as if, they didn't lose anything. Their mid laner now is just back in the fight, right?
Yeah.
It's like there wasn't a fight before to take her into a 3v4. So because of that rotation from Jakimbo, giving up, okay, maybe a wave or two topside, you win that fight. And there's a huge engage by Anaya. The R coming out, trying to get that last auto, maybe looking for the Q, the flash, and it's going to pick up the solo kill on Seraphine. There's the knockup as well from Maokai. The R trying to take a lot of damage, but you're just seeing how much damage he takes before she actually goes down here in the 1v2. With bot side rotating mid here, picked up the 1-for-1.
We talked about how Anaya likes to, push the limits of the champions.
Yeah.
Certainly not expecting the Maokai R to be used on her there. Probably would have gotten out otherwise, but.
Definitely. I mean, we're seeing the rotation mid though. Although you will probably give this bot side tower. You have 4-man for this Baron that's up. Maybe looking for a pick here. Try and force maybe a fight. Get this early Baron because you have prio. And this is what I like to see. I like to see kind of this aggressiveness from Valpo, knowing that, okay, you have Senna pushing bot side. You can go match Anaya because, stacking the armor into, an AD scaler like Senna or even Yasuo, but stacking him into that lane, forcing him to solo, and then trying to take any fights. Not going to be able to, as Holy Cross plays it pretty safe, having the vision up, but still, I mean, point stands.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this has really been won by, the fact that Valpo was making those lane swaps and those rotations within it. I mean, it seems like Anaya and Jakimbo are kind of in the perfect lanes at the perfect time, and, that's what has been the key to building this lead for them.
Yep. I mean, that is the downside of Holy Cross's comp into, Valpo's draft, is that there is no solo lane. You're going to have to give one solo lane. There is no solo lane that's going to win here because either you send Mordekaiser and get matched, or you send Yasuo and get diffed by a Malphite, right? And that's not saying that the Yas is like getting outskilled, but it's just champ diff, right? It's an armor stacker against someone who, builds AD and builds crit. So
Yeah, and now the road, back into this one for Holy Cross is very difficult. Although it's only 2.5 gold, MF Jacimbo is starting to scale,
Yep.
starting to get fed 3-0, and the bounty on him is up to 600. So that tells you
Mhm.
how strong he is in this match.
I mean, most CS right now sitting on a tower has two full items, and especially having the Rylai's on Cassiopeia is arguably one of the strongest like power spikes for her. That and I'd say like getting the Seraphs, right? Seraph's Embrace, already having the fully stacked tier, but we might see Tower go down here, having Vector's help. Maybe looking to engage a little bit here. Maokai walking up, but not going to be able to get much as they will trade for Tower. Pressure just now starting to slowly fall into Valpo's hands as they start to push these objectives, push these leads. Trying to clear out a little bit of vision as next drag will be popping up in 50 seconds. So Valpo taking their back, going to be like 30 seconds to walk back here. Just have to be careful as long as they don't get picked. You see Steamroller walking up, trying to get just fight over vision, but Valpo's now looking just 4-man rotate, and you have the TP up on Jacimbo as well. Might see a 5v5 here looking for this 4th dragon.
Yeah, I mean, you got the tower in mid, you got that extra gold, and 3 members able to back, so they will be at their strongest for this team fight. Valpo certainly an advantage, and Holy Cross is going to have to find a way to take Jacimbo out of this fight, or I don't see a way that they can win it.
Yep, definitely. I mean, we're seeing here, you have to be careful. Face checking into, such heavy range like that. That's a huge chip on Vector, which going into this fight might be a little bit hard. You do have the 4v4. Mordekaiser is walking here, so we will see a 5v5 as long as there is a ward for Jacimbo to TP to. He's going to try and get as much as he can in this top tier turret before TPing in. And there's the turret as well, so he's going to get that gold, maybe looking for a back. Here's the TP as well, joining this fight immediately. You do have the flash up as well. He has flash ult if he wants to. The engage is huge on Valpo's side. They just have to take this fight. There's a pull in as well. Taking a couple of chips, waiting for maybe an ultimate from Anaya, looking for something on their backline. What they're going to combo into it. Maybe a Jacimbo ult as well, but I think this fight is in Valpo's hands here. They just have to engage it. If they allow Maokai to kind of walk up and take this fight, Holy Cross has a very good chance of getting a very heavy backline jump.
Both teams just dancing around trying to
Yep.
position
And
Valpo
there's the
with the
drag
cryo
startup.
on Dragon here.
Yep, Valpo's going to have to walk up. There's Mordekaiser trying to pressure off a little bit. The E pulling in on this Vector. Getting that shot, but the shield stopping it. There's the W from Melio. Trying to walk up here. Dragon resets, but it's going to start getting attacked again. Maokai looking for any angle to ult here. Maybe looking for the engage to counter ult back into. Jacimbo walking up, still holding that R. A lot of damage, and here's the final engage. There's the Senna R coming out. The ult from Seraphine as well. Huge knock up. There's Anaya in the backside. Also combo with Jacimbo and Vector getting that backside shot. Mordekaiser picks up 1, but Valpo picks up 3. Looking for 4 here. Still have Bird up. Zansky full health. Picking off that Melio, but it is going to be a 3v1 into this Maokai. Maokai trying to do as much as he can, but it's not going to be enough. Although bot side on Valpo dies, the rest of the team stays alive, as that is going to be a 3-man ace for Valpo's side. Going to be second drag, solidifying their lead into that 5k gold lead. And that was what I was talking about. It looked a little bit sketch, right? Because you had Holy Cross, like I talked about, took the engage first. You had the Senna ultimate backed up with the Seraphine ult as well. They were looking for that, so Valpo took it on the back foot. Although they did have the lead, right? They do have a really good team fighting comp, so it did pay off for them. But if Valpo shows that initiative, you see that R on the back line that was huge for Anaya, stopping back while they singled out that Mordekaiser, that walked in, ulted in as well. Just overall huge for Valpo in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's just exactly what we expected. I mean, the quadra kill for Jacimbo going huge there. Like you said, a little sketch at first, but, they clearly wanted to
Yep.
take their time and, set up and make sure they got the engage. They were able to take that fight on their terms the way they wanted, and they did exactly that. So now Valpo with a very strong lead here, 7-0 on Jacimbo, and it's going to take a miracle for Holy Cross, honestly.
Yep, definitely. Now with this kind of lead, right, you're looking at Infernal Soul. Just a ton of damage. Obviously, not till that next drag, but Valpo does have pressure for this dragon, right? So you're in a really good spot where you have the lead, you're even on drags, you're up on towers as well. Um, you kind of want to play for this third drag and use that to leverage a Baron. Because although you're going to have to then maybe flip Soul Point, I think that's much more worth with the situation that Valpo's in, to where you take Dragon instead, or you take Baron instead of your fourth drag, and then taking that Baron allows you to, just push your lead a little bit more, force Holy Cross to kind of give at least like a tier 3, maybe an inhibitor, and overall you're just sitting pretty for that next fight.
Yeah, Baron's still not taken yet. At 27 minutes, that can offer so much power here for Valpo. I mean, potentially even ending the game. I don't know. It's still a little ways away here, but all in Valpo's ballpark for sure. You just have to, play your game, not overextend, and you should be coming away with a game 1 win.
Definitely here. We're seeing now Malphite starting to really scale up. Malphite and Cass, because you have the Stole Stealer as well in Jakimbo, and you're going to see Jakimbo walk up here. A lot of damage. There's the Seraphine R and the Senna R. The Maokai finishing off as well. Yasuo looking to try and get to this backline. Vector trying to look away. The CC just too much, as the ultimate from Yasuo is going to finish it, although Lucian does pick up that kill. Trying to focus on that Lucian. Dreadful walking up the R, but Senna is going to outburst him there. But you still do have full health Jakimbo walking up. Mordekaiser showing as well. You still have Anaya bot side, so do not want to finish off that fight. And that fight, I mean, trading 2 for 1, you can't face check into Holy Cross's comp right now, especially with how low a lot of their cooldowns are. Even though you are strong and you do have a lot, Anaya here comes, walks up, maybe looking for the W, the speed boost coming from Melio. Gonna be a lot of damage, and there's the R coming from Anaya as well, the huge knockup, trying to get a lot of damage here. Mordekaiser looking to R, gets the R off on Anaya, trying to walk around. Anaya is going to just walk away here as it does stalemate. Both sending away. Pretty even trade for a 4v3 considering Valpo, forcing them to back here and maybe look for a little bit of a reset before these next couple objectives are up.
Still, Holy Cross, able to do enough to hinder Valpo a little bit. Very clearly, they wanted to target Vector. They dumped a lot of ultimates, a lot of resources onto him, able to eliminate him, and, with the jungler out of the way, obviously going to stop you from doing those objectives. So, a small victory, I would say, for Holy Cross.
I mean, small victories are what you need to put this, team back, right? They're slowly diminishing their gold lead. I talk about how when teams are behind, you really want to look for picks, right? You're not looking to take those huge team fights. You can give those if you can get a couple of picks here and there. And Holy Cross is starting to put those picks together. So this is the angle that you want to attack it at. You're going to see Senna really start to scale now. You have the Kraken, you have the Umbral. You're going to see a really big kind of like scale from her. You have the IE on the Yasuo as well. Just a lot of damage going out for Valpo. So Valpo really can't afford to, just face check a lot of these bushes or force a lot of these fights that, they don't know they have numbers for.
Yeah. Holy Cross, a good first step, but you got to climb the whole stairway up to the next floor. So going to need to see a lot more of those good engages from them, as we are going to see the next Drake about to spawn here, so potentially a big engage coming up.
Yep. I mean, a big engage. This dragon is kind of important because it offers not only just like the damage, but you do have so much freedom for Valpo's side if you have this dragon. And if Holy Cross gets this tier as well, it forces Valpo into another fight, right? Then they can predict when that next fight's coming and prep for it pretty well. But you do see an engage here as well. The pull in from Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser R's on Dreadful, flashes in as well. Dreadful just trying to look around. The flash over the wall as well. Maokai ulting in, trying to knock Anaya into the team. Anaya R's, but not going to be able to hit as Vector's walked back. The R as well, and there's just so much shielding on the side of Holy Cross. After that pick, it's just going to be too much. Dreadful almost gets a shot here, trying to get something, but won't be able to secure the kill on Senna, as the shielding is just too much. Jakimbo being forced to back, and that was just a really clean fight for Holy Cross. You see just kind of scaling that Senna, or Seraphine offers to her team in those kind of fights there. But Valpo just looked really disjointed after seeing that Mordekaiser R on backside Dreadful. I Anaya and Vector were both holding for Dreadful to get out. So
Yeah.
when Dreadful got out eventually, the rest of Holy Cross had already engaged. You just waited too long. You had Anaya get pulled into that fight. They are going to lose Drag and Baron here, and that's
Yeah.
going to put Valpo on a huge backside.
I mean, this is a massive turning point in this game here with, Holy Cross able to pick up the Infernal Dragon as well as the Baron. I mean, just when I was about to count them out, we're back on basically even footing here.
Hmm.
And, the one thing that I was going to bring up before that fight, which I wish I would have because it would have made me look really smart, is the Mordekaiser and how
Yeah.
much power you can have with that R. Here singling out Dreadful, completely throwing off Valpo's, pacing and coordination. Although he doesn't pick up the kill onto him, like you said, I mean, it forced everyone out of position and really won Holy Cross that fight.
Yep, I mean, definitely. I think going into these next couple of fights, Valpo cannot have Dreadful walk up. He walked up right there just to hit, like, a cheeky poke W, just trying to get a couple of shots there. But Mordekaiser, being the front line, immediately R'd. Right as that happens, Holy Cross is free to engage. They are very, very free because that's so much damage on Lucian that you're missing out on now. Right, Mordekaiser doesn't really offer much damage right now as he is building that tank, right? You do have the Riftmaker and the Rylai, so he still does crazy, like, solo damage. But when we're talking, like, team fight-wise, Dreadful is definitely more useful to Valpo than Mordekaiser is to Holy Cross. So you have a fight like that where you cannot walk up. You at least have to force Holy Cross to engage first before, because you have the chance of interrupting the Maokai, or interrupting the Mordekaiser. Sorry, you have Maokai and Mordekaiser on the same team. I
Yeah.
keep mixing up the names there, but
Oh, and Malphite, of
and
course.
Malphite as
So
well. Yeah, you have the
yeah.
like Mao,
Uh-huh.
Mo, and Mao.
Yep. The one silver lining there for Valpo is that Jakimbo did not go down, still has not died in this game, and Holy Cross did not claim his now 700 gold bounty. That
Yep.
would have been just a terrible disaster if that also happened. So.
Yep, Jakimbo really has to get back, or not get back in this game, sorry, but he really has to keep his team from falling back in this game. Especially with the Medjais, right? Buying Soul Stealer is always a very, very risky thing because it's one of those purchases where, okay, either I'm about to run over this team or I just wasted 1,250 gold, right? There's really no in between for it. So I actually like the option here, not because like I believe that, oh man, Jakimbo is just never gonna die this game, but for the role that he's playing, he has to keep until Lucian at least builds a little bit of armor pen, right? Or builds a little bit of just shred, so that until then, it's just gonna be really tough for him to support his team.
Yeah, and this is where the mental game comes back into play. Valpo had this huge lead, opportunity to potentially close out the game with a drag and Baron take. Instead, they give it up to Holy Cross, and I mean, you can't let them continue to roll with this advantage. You got to take back control of this game.
Yep, definitely. But now it's like you've seen it before, right? You have to be wary of that Mordekaiser R.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, Mordekaiser taking anyone else on this team, I feel like is very less helpful outside of maybe the Malphite. The Malphite being pulled away might be the most useful to them at least, but now that Malphite built Abyssal Mask, um, Jakimbo is going to run over people, right? Because obviously, for people that don't know, we haven't really seen Abyssal Masks been built a lot this season, right? But anytime you're near enemies, right, it stacks magic. It destacks their magic resist. It takes away their magic resist. So having that combined with the Soul Stealer, Jakimbo, you might see a really, really heavy AP damage like arc go on here.
Yeah, both teams, kind of just positioning, um, setting up, trying to get Prio here as soul point for Holy Cross is up in 12 seconds. So.
Yep, and I mean Valpo has to fight this. They did force them back a little bit here. Probably gonna have to walk up, and I mean, we've seen this before. This is not anything new. This is the third fight, but we do have an early engage, and that's what I'm talking about. You have a first early fight. Valpo looking to take the early shot. You have Jakimbo in the back doing so much damage. The ult on Jakimbo, but he will win this fight against this Mordekaiser. And that's the upper hand that I was talking about. You have to take the fight first. Anaya, no hesitation. Emma Jakimbo following up with the flash ult as well. Just clearing that. And that is going to be a clear 3 kills to Valpo's 0. Taking this dragon, putting them to soul point as well. And that's what I was talking about. You cannot have Holy Cross set up to the fact that they can, just walk up on Dreadful. Dreadful might be able to get this kill here as well. Just so many dashes. He does not have Navorius, but the W will finish him off over the wall. So the dash does not have that reset that you're looking for. But even then, still just so much damage against this team.
What a roller coaster this game has been, man. It has been, oh, Valpo's winning, now Holy Cross is back. Now Valpo's winning, now Holy Cross takes a fight back. But Valpo able to adapt, able to learn from the mistakes from that last 5v5. And Anaya coming up huge, not having the flashiest game here. 3-3-8 before that fight, but we talked about her consistency. She comes through with the huge engage, the huge ult exactly when they need it.
I mean, honestly, I think this game is going to be in the hands of Anaya and Jakimbo. I feel like Valpo hesitates a little bit too much, as they will start this Baron here as well. You have everybody's ult back, so we're going to see another huge engage from Valpo as well. There's the R looking for something. There's the ultimate from Yasuo as well. 2 ults coming from the bot side of Holy Cross. Red team taking Baron Nashor. Valpo picks it up. Mordekaiser in the pit with Jakimbo. Jakimbo just trying to kite around, stay alive, stays alive as Anaya walks back. Vector and Anaya ult coming out. The ult from Vector finishing off the Yasuo. The Maokai ult comes in a little bit too late as they will finish off. Although Dreadful goes down, I think with Baron here, this might be looking really, really grim for Valpo. The huge stun there, but they have to clear this wave and try to push as much as they can. They're going to take a back here.
Yeah, Valpo able to really snowball that. You could tell Holy Cross did not want to give them Baron, but they're coming in too quickly, too uncoordinated. Valpo able to pick up the objective and turn, grab 4 kills, and all of a sudden it's 22-12 on kills, 6k gold. I think I can confidently say this is the biggest lead we have in the game. I don't want to say it's over yet the way this one has gone though.
Definitely. I mean, we still will see Soul Point up in 2 minutes, right? But until then, Valpo is just going to be pushing, right? You don't have Baron anymore, so you're not going to be trading for anything. So we're going to see another 5v5. But I think Valpo has... I'm not going to jinx it, actually. Never mind.
Yeah.
I will say...
I was just thinking about it too, but I mean, if you're able to flip Soul Point, this game could still go either way. So.
Definitely. I will say, though, that Valpo at least is learning from those past couple fights. And as I was talking about before, I think these fights are going to be on just Anaya's R.
Yeah.
Because Jakimbo will always follow up with the R, right? It's the easiest combo in the world as long as you're in, spacing with it, and as long as Anaya hits root, because nobody is airborne and can turn around, right? So you have the easy, kind of combo that leads up with Jakimbo and Anaya, but you have to wait for Anaya to engage. So if Anaya engages first before Holy Cross can even group, that is ideal.
Yeah, and I mean, such a huge impact in this game, involved in all 4 kills last fight.
We do have the ult from Yasuo as well. Maybe looking a little bit of shred, but I think Malphite is just too strong right now. I think with the Frozen Heart and with the Frostfire, it's just way too much for Yasuo. Yasuo will get, HP is a resource. I think Yasuo will get melted down here, and this side lane is going to be really tough for them. As Valpo, knows Anaya can side lane now effectively against pretty much anyone on their team, going to push that 4-man bot side, force them into a really uncomfortable spot where Yasuo is going to have to trade a ton of HP, going to have to take it back, maybe lose the tower before this next fight.
Yeah, and this next fight is going to be such a huge one, especially as we get later into these games. Every kill means so much with these respawn timers going up. If you do go down, you give the other team an advantage for such a long time now.
Yep. And not getting the knock up there, as and I will walk away from the two people topside. But like you said, I mean, respawn timers being so huge, just even like chips, like you have to chip damage a little bit here, and 30 seconds up on this drag, any back that you can force, it's about, if people don't know, it's about 30 seconds to get back to a lane without, a TP or speed boost or anything. Um, so around that 25 to 30 seconds, if you can get a back or get something out of that before this dragon spawns, if you start up this dragon immediately, you have prio. You will
Yeah.
see Anaya does have TP, so maybe looking for a back before she comes in here,
And
but
we
you
did see
have,
Dreadful take that back right about 30 seconds, so he
yep,
is full strength for this one.
definitely. You have the RFC as well. Not really much armor pen, but will do a lot more damage against that Senna, trying to match that range. But here comes Anaya walking up, maybe looking. You have to be careful here. Drag does go up. They will be flipping this smite, and red team does take it. Infernal Soul goes to Valpo as Anaya R's in the backline. Maokai tries to combo it. Senna taking out the ult as well. Seraphine looking for something. There's the Seraphine ult as Maokai is in the backline. Senna picks up the kill. Yasuo picks up 3 there as well. They will trade. It will be a 3-for-4 trade, although they did pick up Infernal Soul. That evens out the gold lead a little bit, but I think that's in Valpo's favor here, because who you have up left is Maokai and Senna. Right, Senna is going to be able to shred a couple of towers here, but you're not going to be looking for any really side lane push. You're only going to get that mid. I think that trade still goes in Valpo's favor, although Holy Cross did play that extremely well.
Yeah, incredibly scary moment there. I mean, the dragon up for dibs, either jungler able to claim it, and Vector comes up huge. Valpo picking up the soul point, but also giving up a lot of kills here. We're going to see so much pressure coming in on the base. Still
So
15
much damage.
seconds.
With
They
only
might,
Melio up, you have no wave clear. Senna's kind of just free roam trying to hit these inhibitors. Going to be probably first inhibitor of the game, because nobody on Valpo can get back up in time.
yeah,
It's the issue of having, your pretty much your damage right now with Senna. Yasuo picking up also a couple of shutdowns there. The Jakimbo shutdown going, and just like 2 kills in general. Gonna
yeah.
get back into this game a little bit.
Jakimbo finally losing his perfect game there, dying for
Yep.
the first time. But
Selling his Medjais as well after that. Just picking up having the Rabadons.
yeah, still so strong. I mean, 12-1 has been a central point in this game.
Yep.
Valpo with that 5k gold lead. Once again, we're going to see a 5v5 here on
Yep.
the Baron. And this is the one. Valpo picks it up. They should be able to secure the win, but no guarantees the way this
Yeah.
one has gone.
I mean, the nice thing is that even though you did lose that last fight, oh my goodness, I blinked and I missed the Baron.
Yeah,
But
wow, okay.
might have a little bit of an engager. They are on Anaya. There it goes. We do have the client bouncing up here, but maybe looking to just push this mid and end this game right now.
Yeah, I mean, you have the Infernal Soul, you have the Baron buff as well. All these members are going to be so strong on Valpo. Holy Cross is gonna need, some more heroics, which, we have seen. They fought their way back into this game a lot already, and, it's a 45-minute game at this point. This is one of the longest ones we've ever casted, so.
Definitely. I mean, it's a long one, but at least there's been a lot of fights, right? At least it's been an interesting one so far, because right as you feel like Holy Cross is completely out for the count, they start pulling it back together. They get a couple of good picks, a couple of good kills. The engages work really well, and it just looks like, better and better for them. You
We're
do
gonna
see here, yeah,
Valpo grouping up, pushing mid with his Baron buff. Holy Cross solidly on the back foot.
yeah. I mean, you have Jakimbo bot side, so I don't think Valpo is really in the place to engage here. But if they do, Anaya can just R up here and probably finish off. Dreadful is really, really strong right now. Also having the QSS ring, so I mean, Mordekaiser is no longer an issue. Even Mordekaiser ult now just gonna get cleansed.
Now that we're 45 minutes, pretty much everyone is full build here. This is, just down to pure skill. Of course, Valpo having the advantage with the Baron, a pretty big one here, but everyone has the loadout that they want at this point.
Definitely, just wave clearing. You see him, Jakimbo get matched on the bot side by that Mordekaiser, but Honestly, if I'm Valpo, you just fight. We fight! Just fight, just fight. That's all you have to do. Um, Although you don't have the tower, obviously, so you have to wait for Holy Cross to kind of step up a little bit further, unless you're, confident in a push, confident in the dive. But I think you have to take this fight.
Yeah, Jakimbo still
Yep.
pushing bot side. I hope he doesn't get collapsed on here. He was able to take the tier 3 turret.
Yep, and there's the ult as well. A lot of damage going out. Just so much. I mean, that's half of Senna's health being shielded. But so
Oh,
much damage as the quick combo from Lucian going out. There's the Anaya R as well, comboed with the Jakimbo. Jakimbo doing a ton of damage. Ult from Maokai, but I don't think it'll be enough. The ult from Yasuo, but Jakimbo finishes off. Although Seraphine does pick up the kill on Lucian. You're sitting at a very, very strong fight here as Vector is within going to Brazil with this Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser losing that shield really quickly, going to die. Jakimbo zoning out the rest of their team, picking up that kill. 14 and 1. I mean, this will most likely be game for Jakimbo
yeah.
and for Valpo.
Just
Just
Seraphine left here, trying her best to
mhm.
fend off, but she's going to be alone for quite some time, and Valpo should be able to grab the Nexus and game 1 of this
Yep.
series versus Holy Cross.
I mean, overall, really great plays, but I mean, that was just 4 E's right there on them at Jakimbo, and Seraphine is gone. Um, Overall, really just a huge impact from Jakimbo and from Anaya in those team fights, right? You had the combo healing from Steamroller, and then Vector being able to make a couple of great calls for Baron, a couple great calls for starting up Dragon, and overall, I mean, just taking the initiative, just being very strong in those fights. But game one will go over to Valpo for this first.
Series in
Yep,
our
that's the word.
nationals
That's the
group
word.
stage.
Yep.
Yeah, 48 minutes. We're obviously dragging, so we are gonna take a quick break here before we get into game number 2. Valpo with a 1-0 lead over Holy Cross, and we will see you in just a few minutes.
I just realized I've built walls a mile high to protect my heart. I know I can't hide, 'cause then I'd be alone, stuck on the inside. The heart doesn't need a castle, it needs a bridge. Been too scared that I'd unravel. Brick by brick, I built these walls. Now I know that I'm enough. Just watch me tear them down. I'm gonna tear them down. If it couldn't break your heart, is it really love? If it can't tear you apart, is it really love? Just watch me march towards the battle. I'm gonna tear down this castle. I'm gonna tear down this castle. I'm gonna tear down this castle. Watch me march. If it couldn't break your heart, is it really love? Castle. If it can't tear you apart, is it really love? Castle. If it couldn't break your heart, is it really love? Castle. If it can't tear you apart, is it really love?
And we are back for game two of the Nationals group stage. Valpo Esports versus Holy Cross. Valpo taking game one, right? Taking that really strong team fighting comp. And we saw that although Holy Cross was stringing together a couple of kills, a couple of good fights where they could trade, a 3 for 4, get a couple of, upper hands. But whenever Valpo really took the initiative to fight, it became an issue.
Yeah.
Um,
As we're hopping into draft here, game two, different client, so hopefully all the picks are now on the correct time. And it's going to be very interesting to, see how Holy Cross adapts to that draft. Certainly not performing bad. A very long 48-minute game there. So very competitive, but will they switch anything up? Not so far. Still banning Zaya first.
Yep, definitely. If I'm Holy Cross, I can keep the bans on Jakimbo, right? But you need to get rid of that Malphite if you're going to play Yas.
Yeah.
The Malphite pick, also, smart on Valpo picking that very early, but it shuts down a lot of Holy Cross's comp. And we just saw how dangerous it was. So I'm okay with the ASOL ban, ASOL or Syndra here, but you have to flip up one of these R3s, or else you're gonna see Valpo take probably a first pick Malphite again.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw the absolute impact that Anaya had, especially in the later fights, those knockups, those engages. I mean, she was the reason that they were winning. So
Yep.
if that's still available, you gotta favor Valpo for game two. On Valpo's
Because
side, I think same Vans here, taking
yeah,
a little bit of time on the third one.
because I mean the issue is that you either take the okay, we might not see a Malphite pick then here, because if you're not banning the Gwen and you don't have the Fiora ban as well, those are like the two big like shreds of Malphite, right? Because you have the true damage of Fiora and you have the AP true damage of Gwen. So if you're not banning those out, we might not see a first pick Malphite here for Valpo because it might be a little bit too risky based on what Holy Cross bans. The cast. Okay. I like that band too,
Yeah.
honestly. Jakimbo had such an impact last game, and was just too strong in solo lane that when he carried his lead over, a lot of Holy Cross just got run down.
Yeah, I mean, also very strong, Anaya, Jakimbo, the 1A, the 1B in that game for Valpo. Um, Also, Valpo taking away the Yasuo, means that they don't necessarily have to pick that Malphite, like you said. That
Hmm.
gives them other options here to escape that, and, they get rid of the full combo. Diana and Yasuo both gone.
Yeah, definitely. Just no chance for any knockup combos, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But Valpo R1 taking Melio, just securing that enchanter. Melio being so strong right now, especially if Valpo doesn't really know what they want to pick into Holy Cross. It's kind of up in the air right now. So just a very strong pick overall. Holy Cross going with the Ezreal might see the Karma. The Seraphine, okay. Still, heavy range enchanter, kind of what you're looking for with an Ezreal. Pretty good pairing, but you have the Seraphine shielding that's going to be so strong late game. It's not the worst in the world, but we want to see what Valpo. You do have the bot side drafted now,
Yeah.
so what does Valpo want to take into this Ezreal Seraphine?
And I
My
mean,
idea.
I do like switching to the Ezreal because I mean, last game Senna was
Yep,
practically non-existent. Not much of an impact on the game, so
yep.
much stronger ADC here for them.
I mean, you have the Jinx pickup and the Vi pickup as well. The sisters, gotta love it. But I do really, really like this pick into Holy Cross. I was gonna say because you have a heavy, heavy scaler in Seraphine, right? Although you're going to get very outpoked early with Ezreal. Ezreal kind of dominates your lane until like level 6, about right. But with Seraphine, you need someone to equally match that scaling, or else you really just kind of lose in every aspect of the lane. So picking that Jinx up, gonna be much stronger than. Oh no way! They pick up the Janna. Um,
So this
in
is
that case, it's gonna be
a
a Seraphine mid.
Seraphine mid
Yeah.
then.
Okay. Um, I mean, Janna's a good pick as well. It's still matching. You have the Seraphine, but Holy Cross now has to worry about damage.
Hmm.
You don't have a lot of damage, and with Valpo banning out the Gwen, right?
That was an instant ban on the
Yep.
Gwen too.
I mean,
So.
they knew what they wanted. You have the chance now
Hmm.
of running into an option where you don't have damage, right? Because if your mid lane is Seraphine, right? Because your shielding's gonna be insane, right?
Yeah.
Because you have Seraphine Janna. So you're gonna have a ton of sustain on your team, but quite frankly, Valpo can just run through and burst, right? Because burst is always going to just outrun that. But Holy Cross finishing off with the Syndra and the Malphite ban, making sure that they can't R4, R5 this Malphite. Because even blind into the bans that Valpo is dropping off right now is really strong. Banning with the Aurelia as well, stopping that top side.
Yeah, I mean, once again, through this first phase, we're at a point where, I feel confident in Valpo and their game plan and their combo, but there's a little bit of ambiguity on Holy Cross, and they're left to kind of figure out what they're doing with these last two picks. So
Definitely. And picking up maybe the Maokai here. Um, okay. I can see a lot of setup. You have
yeah,
the idea kind of right now that they're setting up is this very heavy chain CC, especially for characters like Jinx, or like Melia, who really only have like, burst to get away from CC, right? You only have one Melia R, for example. Um, you can set up a really, really good combo behind Maokai, Janna, Seraphine, but at the end of the day, what matters is if you do damage. Valpo Esports picking up the Ornn and the Ari. I like the Ari pick
ooh,
here. If you're going to chain CC, Ari or Talia?
Jakimbo
Talia,
really
Talia might be
deciding
better
here.
here. Talia might be better here. Ari can get locked down really easy with their chain CC. I think Talia's the better pick here, actually.
Yeah, tough decision. Talia definitely a champion that he's played more competitive games on,
Hmm.
that we've seen him play,
Okay,
but he
Ari.
will go back to the Ari.
Yep,
So now it's on Holy Cross for this R5. Like you said, I still feel like they're lacking a lot of damage here, so this
yep.
is a really crucial pick.
Their top laner has to be some type of carry. You don't have Gwen. You don't have Gwen. You don't have the Aurelia either. You have to really look for maybe like a Darius, right? Someone that can run down. Someone that can just sprint down people. Jax. Okay. That pick works in this comp.
Yeah,
Um, I think Holy Cross is really praying that Valpo Esports is CC'd enough to not use any abilities. That's kind of this comp right now. But Valpo really, really strong picks again. They've been drafting extremely well recently. Because you have the Ornn top, right? Although, wholesome Ornn player or whatever. Um, you have the upgrade just overall for everybody on your team. You have the Ari for early engage and 2v2s paired with the Vi. So now Vi has more options because Jinx and Emilio is not exactly the most fighting lane, right? So
yeah,
you have an option playing with the Ari to fight 2v2s that you will always win against Seraphine Maokai. At least, if you don't choke. But
yeah,
just on paper, Ari Vi is just such a strong combo to run that early game. You have the Ornn into the Jax, which again, another armor stacker against someone that likes to attack a lot of time, excuse me. So with Valpo's side, I think this is gonna depend more so on Vector this game.
yeah,
We had kind of a lot more easy scalings last game when it came to right, you had the Malphite and you had the Cass mid lane. You kind of had guaranteed scalings. This game, less so outside of, the Jinx, but it's going to be on Vector to play around Ari. It's going to be on Vector and Jakimbo to play around and spend kind of less time in lane. Because we're seeing here that why I was debating about the Talia and the Ari pick was that you have both of them great into this comp because you need ranged mage damage. You need mage somehow, right? Um, but with the Ari, what becomes an issue is that Ari's kit is really hard to work around when she's CC'd. Her
yeah,
best thing is her ultimate. Her ultimate not only being like on such a low cooldown, but giving you 3 free dashes to move anywhere, reposition
yep,
anywhere. You're seeing right now Ari has one of the best win rates in the game, and she's super busted because of that very fact that she can just run wherever she wants. And in a team like Holy Cross where you don't have a lot of movement yourself, right? You're not many dashes outside of maybe the Ezreal, but your two supports, I call them still support mid lane
right,
with the Seraphine and the Janna can get easily picked out by Ari. So the idea behind it, Talia can do the same thing with repositioning with the WE combo, but issue being that, Talia has more range. So you're kind of trading that, okay, I don't want to pick another hyperscaler into a comp where we already don't have many fighting lanes, right? So you take the Ari over the Talia, so now Vi has someone to fight with, which I do like that idea. But overall, in team fights, we might see it will maybe become a little bit of an issue for Jakimbo trying to navigate himself around all this CC that's in front of him.
yeah. I mean, there really is so much to dive into in this draft. Very different, from game one. We're only seeing 3 picks the same. The Milio, of course, from Steamroller that performed so well. 22 assists on the 22-7 Valpo kills. I mean, just steady as it gets. And then Holy Cross going back to the Seraphine and the Maokai.
It's a Seraphine jungle.
I
It's
see.
Seraphine jungle.
Okay.
Hey, okay. Um, might have been just like a little quick swap. Going to take that tank into Ari, which granted is a much better choice because Seraphine into Ari is a very tough lane, right?
Yeah.
So Holy Cross taking a page out of the book of game one, gonna
Uh-huh.
lane swap here as well. Have the Seraphine jungle. Um, I mean Seraphine jungle, honestly, out of everything on this list outside of maybe like Jack's jungle, I can actually see. Seraphine jungle is not something that it's off meta, but it's not like off meta where it's like okay they're throwing the game. Um, just gonna be a little bit confusing to see kind of how the Seraphine pass because I think the biggest issue run into is that Vector is free to invade now anytime he wants. Unless Maokai is literally following 1v1, like following the Seraphine wherever she goes, which gives Ari lane prio. If Vector is smart about this, you don't even have to force 2v2s with Ari anymore. Just walk red side. Like, if I'm Vector here, first thought I'm thinking is invade, right? Because if you can pick up something on that side against a Seraphine, it's
Yeah.
going to set her so far behind, who already has a pretty hard time ganking in lane. Um, and overall, just not much of a slow clear, but less of a power clear. As in like her first item backs, second item backs aren't as
Hmm.
strong as like a Vi's backs would be. Take as much as you can. because you're always gonna win that 1v1 fight.
Yeah, I mean a little bit of a trade-off, like you said, lane swap coming in. I'm crazy that we've seen two in both
Hmm.
games this series, but you get that better matchup mid lane, with the Maokai into the Ahri, but you give Vector that freedom, and you already mentioned, how much of this game is going to center around him. Now he has an advantage in this matchup, and he really is that key that Valpo can kind of focus around and build around and say, okay, how can we get Vector involved to, build this lead here?
Yep. I mean, I even thought it was like, on Vector before I saw that it was Seraphine jungle.
Yeah,
Now it's even more on him because
yeah,
if he even does so much as one solo kill in the jungle, he immediately has prio over like the whole bot side of the map.
yeah,
Um, so I think we're gonna see it's going to be on Vector playing very aggressively here. He cannot power farm. You cannot full clear here this game. If you're going to full clear, you have to full clear the enemy's jungle first. You have to
yeah,
make sure that's all gone first before you actually come back to yours,
yeah,
or else you're just not taking advantage of this lane. But honestly, I have no doubts in Vector. We know he likes to play super aggressively with these kind of fights, and he recognizes when he has an advantage. So, where you might see in this game a little bit more of an active jungle. But
yeah. And I mean, he was, very good in that
mhm,
game one, picking up a lot of ganks all the way
yep,
back from the first blood now, almost an hour ago,
yeah.
obviously. But on the Holy
Almost. It is an hour ago.
more than an hour
Yeah.
ago, maybe actually. But on the Holy Cross side, going back to the Seraphine and the Maokai, I think these were champs that did pretty well in game one for them. We saw the Maokai come in with a couple of big ultimates. The question, I guess, is it going to be the same laners playing these champions?
Yeah, I mean, I think they are tied to the players by like NECC rules that they have to play in their lanes because
I
that's
see.
what they swap
Okay.
for. But I mean, I guess technically you could be like, "Oh, well, the game isn't forcing me to take this role." Like you could
Yeah.
have two jungles, right? Like no
Yeah.
nobody's forcing you to do this, but I think it is a little bit kind of troll if you have your jungle playing mid lane here and your mid lane playing jungle. But we
Okay.
do know that the sub for Holy Cross likes to also play jungle. The sub mid lane likes to play jungle. So we might
Yes.
we might see a swap here for, a good reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little bit interesting the way that they're taking this game.
I
But
mean,
I'm all for it. You
hey,
lose game one, you have to switch up something game two, and they
we're about
definitely
to
did.
see,
No,
and
okay,
yep, the mid laner is playing Maokai.
yes, but the mid laner has smite. So I think they just drafted wrong. Like I think they drafted in their LCS order, but their jungle is playing mid lane now. So it is not Seraphine jungle, it is Maokai jungle. And Maokai jungle, but the issue is that the player that
So
plays mid
so
lane
now
is
we're
playing
back.
jungle.
Now we're
Yeah.
back to the matchup where
I
Jakimbo
feel like the picture of like
cannot.
Charlie Day putting up the like arrow keys to like which character is which,
Yeah,
but
yeah. We're
I
trying to figure out
I
what's happening.
I picked it up. I picked it up here. So the players stayed the same. They are in the same order that
Right.
they were before, but the roles are different.
Got it.
So the
So
jungle player is playing mid lane, but he drafted in his jungle slot. The mid laner is playing jungle, but he drafted in the mid laner slot.
correct. So Blade of Sauron, which we saw in the mid lane
Mhm.
playing Yasuo last game, and we see in the mid lane slot is actually going to be playing jungle in this game.
Yep, definitely. So
So
that was the confusing side. Still in this case, honestly, pretty good for Ari now. We're back to what we were talking about before with Vector trying to take those 2v2s, trying
mhm.
to take a little bit of lane pressure.
Yeah, but I mean, it just like you said, it now goes back on Jakimbo. Obviously, Vector going to be a big part, like you were showcasing before you knew this matchup. But now Jakimbo also playing that larger role. Looking to repeat, have another, 12-1 performance. Why not
Yep,
Jakimbo? Um,
definitely.
but
Um,
I think for me, this is going to be not necessarily decided here because we saw Valpo, get a good early game lead last game
yep.
and go up 4-0, and it wasn't over. It wasn't even close to over. So I think that this early game honestly doesn't mean a whole lot here.
Yep. I mean, I think I also want to point out as well, couple of summoner spell changes, right? Is that we do instead of the normal ignite that you see on an enchanter like Milio, we see the exhaust, And that plays into what we were talking about before the game where, okay, they're going to struggle a lot on damage, right? So when you struggle a lot on damage, you're really relying on that Jax, you're relying on that Ezreal. So with exhaust, you effectively take away, you make a fight that is, 2 people doing damage to 1.7 people doing damage, right? Which is a huge, huge factor because now you're practically fighting one person on the team while the rest of them heal, right? Which, hey, maybe we'll see is an amazing comp for this game. But until then, I feel like this is a little bit favored for Valpo. And I trying to walk up, get that brittle proc, not going to be able to. Trade goes to Jax's side. Couple of lanes. We saw that Image Kimbo did walk up. Sadly, not going to be like the G2 Genji game where it gets the early kill at level 2 with Ahri. But there's the brittle proc that we were looking for, and a ton of heal, especially considering you have the grasp. And that's kind of where this lane goes strong, is that your combo pairs really, really well with the healing you have. Also having the corrupt potion, just trying to sustain a little bit. And there's a ton of damage. And Jakimbo, you can already see, just has so much prio in this lane. And there's a knock-up as well. Ton of damage. Jack's going to be in a spot. Gets the level up, the heal. Going to be able to equally trade back. Putting Anaya in a little bit of a worse spot. But Anaya does have a good freeze going on here.
Yeah, definitely very aggressive in the top lane. Looks like we're going to see Jax taking an early back here, maybe?
Yep.
Wow,
I mean,
okay.
you take the early shove in. You have half health. Honestly, if you're Jax, I like this. Ornn does not have enough push right now, but the only thing you do risk is that Ornn's there. And there's the flash engage as well on Vector, getting the shot and the flash out of Janna. Getting the summoner spell, summoner for summoner in that lane, gonna be huge for Dreadful and Steamroller having kind of that having that advantage.
Yep, so flash for flash. Vector, of course, like we said, looking for that early aggression, unable to pick up the first blood quite yet.
But we're seeing here, both lanes being frozen against Holy Cross. Now bot lane also has a freeze because Dreadful took that and was like, okay, you flashed in, Janna flashed immediately. I'm not going to engage. Instead, I'm just going to thin this wave. And now thinning this wave, they're in a really good spot where they're forcing Holy Cross to be uncomfortable. You're seeing this top side as well, that freeze happened for a very long time, losing a lot of XP, but this wave will be heavy pushing back to Jax. And honestly, it's going to be a little bit tough. You might see a couple of trades under this tower, but Vector is still that bot side, so we won't see a crash or a dive. Just going to have to try and chip and get as much as they can.
Yeah, I mean, wave management is always, part of those little micro-level things, the less flashy plays, but stuff that can win you the game if you have those, proper mechanics to get the edge on the opponent.
Yep. I mean, it's kind of what we talk about, how a lot of, league advantages aren't necessarily gold. And we're seeing here, now that the wave is pushing back, they're trying to just clear as fast as they can, force them to farm under that tower, and be able to get a slow push back. But Dreadful looking to take a couple of shots here, try and get as much of an engage as they can, but they have to be careful. Here comes Maokai. Gets the root up. Steamroller has to be careful, knocking him back as well. But I mean, Maokai's not going to have enough damage even if he does engage here. It looks like Valpo will get a back. Oh, missed that cannon. -1, Jakimbo, -1. But I'm just joking
we gotta
around. I mean,
criticize, the little things because Kimbo does so much well. So, overall, a much quieter early game here. We did see some trades. Jax looking for a little more, but no kills coming through yet. So overall, not a ton of action here, but I mean, who do you think this favors, going forward? Who's going to be the team that's going to scale a little bit better into this late game?
Honestly, this is kind of an like anyone's game moment. Because we're seeing them play this early game. There's the Seraphine art as well. They're taking this 2v2, but Emma Chikimbo's ult is already gone. Because he popped that ult early, he just doesn't have enough. Vector might be able to look for a Q damage, but the root as well knocking back, and unless this burst is enough, it won't be enough. Maybe the Q over the wall, but it's not going to be enough as they finish. I mean, we talked about 2v2.
Has rotated up here. He might have been looking for the kill, but they're not able to get it.
Yeah. I mean, not having R there yet is not going to be enough, but I talked about being, 2v2 being in Ari's favor, but I mean, him forcing the ult out first, or Maokai forcing the ult out of Ari first, stopped so much of their damage and so much potential that they had that I think really it just threw that 2v2 because you're sitting on the Seraphine R now, you're sitting on the Maokai R, which didn't even pop out. I mean, you don't have level 5 yet, but it just becomes a lot less helpful for Valpo because you're fighting, ultimate against none.
Yeah, I mean, not played how Valpo would have wanted to in First Blood, going over to Holy Cross, but, certainly nothing that, upsetting if you're Valpo, still a lot of time to get back that small advantage that you gave up. But overall, you got to play those engagements a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, and hopefully learn next time of, how you can use that ultimate to your advantage.
Yep, definitely. I mean, I think it was just a little bit of a miscalculation on Jakimbo's side, and because of that, you don't have a back. Anaya getting stunned here, the flash as well in the old under tower. It's not gonna be enough as Jax picks up the solo kill, excuse me. Just stepped up a little too far. If you're looking at items here, Jax building that full damage, going that Divine Sunder, right? Um, just a little bit of a miscalculation on the Anaya's side. Kind of a game of early game miscalculation, I'd say, so far for Valpo's side. But obviously, this lead is nothing that is too much for them.
Yeah.
Only being 1K still has a huge opportunity to get a lot out of this.
Yeah, in terms of in-game advantage, it's, nothing that significant, but, the other thing is that mental aspect we keep going back to, on paper, Valpo much higher seeded, expected to, win this one pretty confidently, but instead, a 48-minute game one, and now in the hole a little bit early, so you really gotta stay mentally resilient and recognize, hey, this doesn't mean much. We can get back in the game instead of, letting it kind of tilt you a little bit.
Yep. I mean, trying to get that R off. Or an R goes off, not going to be able to get much, as Jax does just walk away there after the stun. Top lane, just have to be really careful. You do have the Maokai walking up, and the Seraphine might be looking for a 3. Seraphine leaves, probably not going to be worth it, as Orin dashes away here. Ari getting a couple of free farm in mid, trying to catch up because this Seraphine is a lot up on Jakimbo right now. I mean, that's how that champ is, quite frankly. Seraphine has one of the best wave clears after you get that lost chapter, right? So it's gonna be just a free couple shots, right? Lane prio is gonna be on damage, I'd say, because you don't have the wave clear that Seraphine does early right now as Ari, but you can out damage her.
And the other thing that I missed somewhere in the mix is it looks like Vector picked up the first Drake here for Valpo, so
Yep.
always a good sign to get those started.
Yep, I mean, just getting it done. You have a lot of bot lane prior right now, right? Sitting at like around a 20 or 15 CS gold lead, excuse me. So having kind of that prio on that bot side is what you need to take advantage of. But I would like to see the junglers get a little bit more active in this game. I feel like on both sides, honestly, there hasn't been much lane activity outside of a couple of like ganks, and it's been more focused on farming. Kind of waiting for these you know, first couple fights to happen, which I don't think is in benefit to really most of like Valpo's team. I feel
Yeah.
like taking 2v2s, although they lost that first one, quite frankly, was just like bad timing.
I mean, like you said, aside from that kind of initial engage where Vector was in the bot lane, flashing himself and getting the flash from Janna, there hasn't been much action, but, pretty significant CS lead here for Dreadful, up about 18, there we go, 18 CS, if I can do the math on the Ezreal. So.
Yep. A couple trades there, just trying to get that proc for grasp. Dreadful walking up, and we're seeing now kind of the power of the wave clear that Dreadful has with Melio. Finally getting a damage item, obviously starting Zerker's Greaves first, but here's the counter engage as well coming from Maokai, but Vi is here as well. Seraphine, though, it's going to be a 3v4 in this bot lane as Ari is still stuck in mid. Vector gets hit, but the ult from Steamroller does save him here as it won't be enough damage by Ezreal to get that kill.
Valpo gonna give a third kill over to Holy Cross here without a response from them. Early 1k gold lead. Looks like they're gonna get a good chip away on this tower as well as the Rift Herald coming in.
Yep.
So.
And that's going to be a lot of gold going to that bot side. Is going to put that Ezreal ahead on gold now. Bot lane now lost that kind of advantage, and Valpo is more playing on this back foot. We did, right as I talked about it though, we did see the jungle engage that I was looking for on both sides, honestly, but just the engage from Maokai being forced to kind of choose for Steamroller what ult he wants to like use and when. Um, with that decision, Seraphine walking down also is just too strong. Um, we're seeing now the pressure that Seraphine has when it comes to wave clearing, where it left Jakimbo, being forced to stay mid, and he still has that CS advantage, right? Because it's really really tough to fight Seraphine when Seraphine just insta clear wave.
Yeah, and
Might,
we talk about the
oh,
jungle.
and I has to be careful here. You have 3 coming up. This might be really really bad, but just like that, Valpo is looking 4-man bot side here. Maybe looking for an Ari dash over wall and or charm, but it's not gonna be enough. As Anaya does get away pretty clean on that top side. Couple of pings going out, but Valpo, because they rotated 4 side, trusted on Anaya to not get picked. They will pick up second dragon here,
Yeah,
and take that timing advantage.
Committing 3 members topside here, not getting anything, and Valpo getting the Drake. This is a pretty good swing in Valpo's favor here.
Although I am getting deja vu from last game because, I mean, last game we saw us, like, Valpo give up first couple drags
Yeah,
because they knew that they could take advantage with fights, and I think we're seeing Holy Cross do that same thing here. So it's gonna really be telling when this, third to fourth Drake comes up, who
yeah.
who on the team is gonna start fighting for these.
But, for some optimism in terms of Valpo here,
Mhm.
Holy Cross picking up those 2 early Drakes really was, the key to them kind of working their way back in and, making it close. So it could be a good thing here for Valpo too. Um,
There's a couple of shots. Anaya having to dash out there, making sure it doesn't get that proc. Building that Frostfire's Gauntlet again, which I think is really strong into this comp, right? Because you have Jax and you have Ezreal doing a ton of damage, so why not just make it insanely hard for them to stack anything on you? Oh, excuse me. Huge voice crack there, but outside of that, we're seeing this lane kind of with Jakimbo be a little bit tougher for Ari as this game goes on, right? Going with that Everfrost, going that huge lockdown, which quite frankly is probably the best build for Ari at this moment, just for team fighting. But Vector started up this started up this Rift Herald without any like prio in most of the lanes, so all the lanes except for topside is just gonna skip and walk to Rift and take it.
mhm.
Um, it might have been just a miscommunication there, but just didn't seem like it was the best option for Valpo.
Yeah, so Holy Cross gonna pick up the second Rift Herald. Both Heralds going to them, both Dragons going to Valpo. So.
Yep, and there's the huge root. We might see a kill here. There's the ult from Dreadful coming out a little bit prematurely instead of the finish. But Vector dashes away after the W of Maokai. The R coming out as well. Here comes Jakimbo walking up looking for the charm. There's the charm, but gets hit by the Seraphine R as well. Anaya is there as well. The lockdown. Jakimbo taking a lot of damage. Jax flashes in and EQs. Gets that shutdown on Jakimbo. Anaya in a bad spot as well, getting rooted. Seraphine picking up another kill, and that's going to be a full 3 clear. But 1 does go to Vector's side, going 2 for 1 trade for Holy Cross's favor.
3 for 1, actually.
3 for 1, excuse me, yep. But, man, I mean, Valpo just looks really discoordinated right now. A lot of these fights they are not engaging on. You have Vector, face checking these bushes. There's not really much like support as well because you have Jakimbo getting locked down, like we talked about earlier before the stream, where it's just really hard when you have Ari that if she does start to get CC'd over and over, there's really no movement for her, and it becomes really hard to support your team. So Vector's role as an engage becomes really, really tough because
Yeah.
he's trying to jump in on these fights, but it's just nothing you can really do because there's no follow-up to him.
I mean, not having the success early game, like you said here, 0-1, 17 minutes into the game. Um, expected to take kind of that bigger role and hasn't. You see Dreadful getting some pressure there in the bot lane, but like we were talking about pregame, I mean, that choice to pick the Ari over the Talia could be what comes back and bites Valpo here.
Yep. And I mean, it's a tough early game right now. You are down 3k gold, almost 4k, right? Um, you have to start. Although you are up on dragons, you're gonna have to give this next one. I really don't see them fighting this next dragon with the item difference that they're gonna run into. Um, and if they do, maybe you can flip it, but it's gonna be on really Jakimbo to be able to dance around CC.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have the Maokai R. You have to be able to maybe hide behind, but you have to dash away from that Seraphine R and be able to at least single someone out, right? The whole idea behind Ari's kit is that you get so many resets after picks, right? You focus 1-to-1 to 1 to 1 to 1 on a lot of these people. So having somebody like, a Seraphine or someone that you can run into. You do have the Rift Herald picked up by Jax, dropping to this top side. Might be able to pick up this tower here as the charge will take a majority off. Jax taking one shot, and that will be top turret down as Holy Cross tries to clear this vision for bot side as well. You see Jakimbo over the wall, gets the charm, trying to walk around. Dreadful, taking a couple of shots. You really have to get him a reset here. And I has to be careful not dying to the solo lane or else it looks really bad for Valpo. And here comes Vector walking up. They will start up this dragon here. And I'm honestly okay with, unless Valpo gets somebody low health here, I'm okay with them giving this dragon. But Vector might be able to look for an R on something here. There's the dash in, maybe trying to be unstoppable. There's the flash up as well. The ult coming from Janna and the ult from Seraphine, but the knock away is going to miss both of them. Jakimbo gets over the wall, has the R, still getting engaged. Vector is getting rooted up here, trying to get shot, but there's just so much damage. Jax TP's in. And Valpo is going to be forced to jump away. Dreadful flashing just as the Q hits. Not going to be enough damage. Janna looking for a knockup. Not going to be able to hit anything as Valpo is forced off this dragon.
I mean, Dreadful getting scarily low there. Valpo somehow escaping with only one death. I mean, that could have been a much, much worse fight for them. But, they do give the dragon. It's still not the best game state. You're still behind by a good bit here, but it's not completely tragic yet, I would say.
I mean, the rough part that we're running into right now is that Valpo is kind of stuck between builds where we don't really know if we want damage or we don't really know if we want, durability, right? Because with this comp, I agree with Vector's build here that you have to build Radiant Virtue. You have to build some type of tank, right? For these engage early because you're facing that Maokai. But because of that, your damage really relies on Jinx, who doesn't have any damage right now, has not had the opportunity to scale, as we're going to see another engage here. Vector walking up, a huge charm as well, the flash over the wall, maybe looking to dash over as well. The R going from Jinx, but not going to be able to pick up any kills. Still, I mean, in a drought right now for Valpo, but we're running into this issue where you don't have damage, right? So Jinx has not had the opportunity to scale to 2-3 items.
Yeah.
Ari is great for lockdown early, but against the Maokai, against someone that's as elusive as Ezreal, damage and just securing kills is really tough. Vi has to go Radiant Virtue first, or else later on in the game she suffers. So it's a really, really tough build position right now. It's why I'm okay with them giving a couple of these fights early, because it's you don't have to force this fight, but them forcing it a little bit here is going to make it a little bit tougher to scale later up in this game.
Yeah.
Especially considering that Ornn needs to upgrade people.
Yeah.
you have the Ornn upgrades available, so the scaling on the side of Valpo is really strong, but until then, taking these early fights after you lose that first 2v2, after you lose that first 3v3, is kind of just putting yourself more and more in a hole that you really don't want to be dealing with at the end of this game.
Yeah, I mean, just one kill in almost 22 minutes here is never going to win you any games. But like you said, I mean, we talked so much about, Jakimbo and Vector coming into this game, but as this gets later, if you can survive into these later stages, Dreadful becomes a much bigger factor, and he could be their way back into this one, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think Dreadful is the key to getting back in this game, quite frankly, because we're not going to see Jakimbo really scale much with like damage, I'd say. Obviously, your CC is going to be crazy. Also, good way to dodge that stun right there, Anaya, using the W, becoming unstoppable. Trying to get another knock up here. Maybe another Brittle proc to trade out this. But we're seeing here that you're not going to see much of a damage scale with Ari. You will see it with Vector. I feel like Vector, once he starts building these damage items, going that Chempunk, especially into that Jax and that Maokai, really, really great. I feel like Chempunk being a huge pickup, but outside of them, that's kind of your win con this game. It's relying on them to get your resets and get people to run over. Valpo's team, it's almost like playing with like playing with a Viego, I'd say. Your whole team is based on resets. You have Ari who can reset. You have Jinx who is based on resets. You just need a kill. But if you don't have any damage to pick up a kill, the team can't do what you want it to do.
It's just this vicious cycle, really.
Yeah, it's a terrible cycle that we're running into because we're between items.
Yeah. So Valpo, the deficit is 5.5k here. They still have the 2 Drakes, but I don't think they're in much of a state to even fight for this next one.
Yep, and there's the upgrade going to Jinx as well. Got the Orin upgrade, given like 10 more damage, a little bit more true damage as well, a little bit more attack speed. Just overall just buffing it really strong. So now you have to be careful though. I mean, Ezreal is on 2 items.
Yeah.
It's 2-item Ezreal with Navori's. His fighting in games is just really, really strong. But we're going to see probably a huge buy coming from Jinx here.
I mean, you see Vector pinging this Drake now up in 30 seconds. I mean,
Yeah.
do you think it is wise for Valpo to fight for this one, or is this another one that they should just give?
I think that with the like damage that you're looking at, I don't think it's the strongest idea. Seraphine walking up here, doing a lot of damage. Honestly, if Valpo wanted to engage on Seraphine there, they probably could have. There was nobody around. Seraphine was getting a little bit too much, just chip damage. Jax walking up, and you're just seeing here, when Jax just scales that Divine Sunderer, it's just too much damage for you to really start to trade back effectively with Ornn. So now you have to kind of rotate your gameplay into a scaling comp.
Yeah, Naya having a really tough time here. Brybird taking full advantage of his counter.
Oh, and here's a huge engage as well. This is what we were talking about with Jakimbo jumping over that wall. There's the shutdown we need. There's the reset. The Maokai R comes out, but you have Jakimbo with another dash, probably another E coming up as well. Missing that, but that's going to push them off Dragon. Gonna see maybe if they flip this smite here, but Red Team does get it as Vector smites too early. Just a little bit unlucky there. I mean, that's the fight we were looking for. You have to dash in, take that. You get the reset, so you have a lot of damage, but just overestimated the Dragon Shred that they had, and that will be second Dragon going to...
so tough to lose that flip there. I mean,
Yep.
if we could have picked up a 3rd Drake, we would have been right back in this one, but still leaning an advantage here for Holy Cross. But good steps, like you said. We're starting to break that cycle, finally getting a kill here onto Dreadful. Also going to pick up some gold with the tower in
And
mid lane.
Dreadful does pick up the shutdown on Seraphine as well, which does give him IE. That's his damage boost. You're now looking for fights, I feel like. There's the R as well, coming from Vector, trying to get a couple of shots. Here comes Janna. The R going to be really just kind of ineffective as you don't have much follow-up, especially after that Ezreal E's and flashes away.
Still forcing the flash out of the Ezreal, going to be a good thing here for Valpo. Give him a little bit of an advantage, knowing that he does not have that there to use.
Definitely. I mean, a couple of shots down range, but nothing too much to talk about here. Ezreal is still up in items, but remember, you have that Orin upgrade that is going to almost even that out. So Dreadful is completely okay now. I feel like this is the time where Valpo can start to take fights.
Yeah.
Although you are still down on gold a lot, the only issue is that if Jax TP's in, you have to leave. Their 5v5 is much weaker, right? But their 4v4 is stronger.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting dynamic, right? But when you have a carry top lane like Jax, that's how you have to play these fights. And we might see a pick here as well. Jakimbo walking up, R looking, uses the R to dash, but it's not going to be enough as the combo walks away. Still using that E, maybe looking for one, but won't get enough as Janna does rotate down, trying to help out. It will be a good trade in Jakimbo's favor, but Seraphine will be able to just heal that back up with her W.
Yeah, still able to force the R out, like you said. So that's something. I was gonna say something, but now I've completely forgotten. Oh yes, this is gonna be, these next few fights are gonna be a huge turning point, like you said. Valpo has the ability to win some of these, and they have to win at least one of these next few engages if they do want a chance of winning game 1.
Yep, but I mean, we're sitting now at a crossroads where with Ornn topside, although we might see a huge, back and buy from, from Jax, but we're sitting now at a point where items are even, right? Like, we're sitting on very tank, so I feel like if Anaya TP's in, they still do have a chance, but it's going to be hard. You have a very dive-heavy comp on the side of Holy Cross, right? So you need a lot of peel on Valpo's side for these team fights, especially if you don't want Ezreal and Jax just running over your team. But I think you get that peel with Jakimbo. It's going to be either you have to engage, you have to engage first and take a pick that you can, try to get an early reset for Jinx and Ahri, or you have to hold until Jax jumps to your backside. And even then, I think you have to take those fights early. I think waiting for that Jax to do something is not optimal because you had too much follow-up on the side of Holy Cross.
Yeah, but I mean that Jax has become such a big part of Holy Cross's team comp here. Being that last pick of the draft, being that counter pick, he's able to build up such a big lane, such a big lead here in the top lane, and can be really scary in these team fights.
Yep, and we might see an engage here as well. You do have 4 top side, as there are 2 bot side as well. This might be great for Valpo, looking for some type of pick. And looks like they will go down. Dreadful picking up the kill on Maokai. Huge pick as well, recognizing that, hey, 2 are matching Ahri, right? On that bot side, you have the TP from Ahri as well if any of them decide to move. Now this might be a Baron angle. Ahri can still walk up and take this 4v4. And there's the engage as well, trying to turn this on the Jax. Jax jumps to the backside, trying to take something on Steamroller. Vector gets the R out on him as well. The exhaust coming in so clutch. Dreadful walking away, trying to kite, gets the shutdown. That's the reset that they need. They're going to walk up. Jakimbo dashes in, hits the Zanyas, trying to get an R maybe on the Seraphine on the backside. Not going to be much. Vector walking up. Anaya now on that side, picking up that kill. Dreadful gets 3 kills this fight, looking for 4 maybe. That's that, almost going to get 5, maybe going to be able to pick it up, and there it is! All 5 going to Dreadful, picking up that kill. That's going to be a clear Baron, and that's going to put Valpo right back in this game now after this Baron, clearing up that gold lead. That was the pick that they needed, being able... I talked about earlier, taking that exhaust this game instead of the ignite, exhausting that Jax, jumping on Dreadful, getting the resets that they needed, and allowing Jakimbo and Dreadful to just run over this team.
What a fight. Dreadful is huge. Valpo is back. 6-1 on the Jinx. This is just textbook. How you get back in the game when you're from behind, finding the pick onto the jungler, taking the 5v4 advantage into a Baron, and now turning it for Dragon. Valpo actually has
We're about to see a full PD. Lead. Yep, there it is. A full PD, got the armor pen as well, and a crit cloak. I think Dreadful is now the highest damage in this game. I really think that you hit that fight, that was everything you wanted. Giving all 5 kills to Dreadful, who needs the gold, who is your main source of damage. It's going to be huge for Valpo in these upcoming fights. Securing the Baron and Dragon. The pressure is now back in their favor as they took a 5k gold lead and turned it into a literally neck-for-neck pace.
Oh, I mean, the momentum is totally in Valpo's hands right now. I mean, this series has completely shown us, how much of a swingy game League of Legends can be. Holy Cross down so much in game 1, able to fight back. Valpo looking dire in this early game, and it's just one big fight, one perfect clinical fight, and they are right back in it, everything going in their favor.
And there's the ult from Jax as well, maybe looking to all in here. Naya has to be careful, a lot of damage going out, but I mean, wave in her favor here. As you do see Frozen Heart as well in the Jax. being super strong for kind of the comp that they're looking for. You have the R from Anaya as well, missing the knockup though, as Jackson will now run in, try to just run down, but here comes Vector, the R under the tower as well, looking to turn it, and Dreadful picks up the kill with the R from the other side. Give him another one. Just feed my boy. Feed my boy. He's just gonna keep eating today.
What did we say? He's the way back into this game, stepping up huge here. I mean, dreadful. What else can you say? Like,
So much damage now coming from his side. You do have the 4v5 as well, trying to clear those waves, but this is gonna give so much damage. You saw right there, just one Q was enough. And there's another Q, almost killing. The W almost hitting, forcing the R out of Janna to just destroy anything around it.
Valpo has so much pressure now with Dreadful on this Jinx, just absolutely.
Yep.
I mean,
and
now
here's a
Jakimbo.
huge trade as well. Getting the Seraphine out. There's the R as well from Jakimbo, trying to get that. And there's the Soul Steal as Jakimbo will pick up the kill in side lane. And this is the scale we're looking for. Right after the Ornn upgrade as well. It's just going to really start falling in Valpo's favor because I talked about it. I'm like, okay. It's okay to give these first couple fights because you need Jinx damage, you need Vector damage, you need a little bit more scaling from each side. And now that you have this scaling, now that you have Orange starting to really upgrade everybody around, with every upgrade on the team, this is what you're looking for. I mean,
Valpo has just exploded. You see the pings coming in. They're looking to snowball it into a soul point here in 2 minutes and just completely take this one into their hands.
Definitely. I mean, you're seeing them set up right now. You still do have, around 2 minutes on the timer here. So with Valpo, you got to use up the rest of the push that you have. Push as much of an advantage that you have. You're still sitting on a tower advantage. So until then, just keep doing damage. Right now, I feel like is the best opportunity to maybe take a fight if you want to try and fight maybe a tiny skirmish like a 3v3 before this dragon. You have to take it in like the next 10 seconds here or else you're going to lose out on the soul point.
Yeah, I mean, we said the early game wouldn't mean much. Turns out the mid game didn't mean much. There's someone in the League of Legends community that I follow that says the game doesn't really start until the first Baron fight. Boy, did it start here.
Definitely. I mean, we're really getting into gear here with the comp that Valpo's running. It took a little bit to get there, and there's the W as well, slowing down, trying to get a change, but Dreadful is just too much range.
He's legendary.
Already taking down.
The game just said it for us. He's legendary.
I mean, already having 4 items, right, going into these fights, this is kind of the fight that you wanted. He's gonna get a recall, even if he doesn't need one. He's just gonna walk down. And you have Dragon up, Emma Jakimbo trying to zone off a little bit, having the charm damage, kind of faking the Hex Gate here. Anaya solo laning here, making sure that Jax can't get anything, just trying to match as much as she can. We've seen kind of just a less... Oh, never mind. We have a huge engage as well. Jakimbo jumps over the wall, trying to get something here. The Everfrost on that Janna as the R coming from Vector slams down on the Seraphine, picks up that kill, and that is going to be soul point for Valpo, as there's really no way for Holy Cross to contest it outside of maybe a steal. But I really don't see Maokai getting in without Dreadful just having something to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, Valpo has just given Holy Cross no chance to respond. They're absolutely putting on the pressure, choking out this team. Now Jakimbo's coming online. We're seeing the huge damage come out from him. And I mean, to duo and combo the Ahri with Dreadful's Jinx, I mean, it is very, very oppressive. And I think Valpo is going to be able to take this game, I would say.
Yep, and we see a couple of pings going up as well. Baron fight is now probably active. I mean, Baron is up, but here's the engage on the top side as well. The R coming from Dreadful, finishing off a lot of that Moss Shield, or a lot of that Hex Drinker. There's the R from Vector, and that's going to be a solo kill. That's going to pick up Baron, and we might see a quick end here to this game compared to the 50-minute game that we had.
Yeah, not quite going the full 48 like last time.
Yep.
Here we are on Baron. Nobody on Holy Cross here to contest. Valpo's gonna just quickly pick this one up. Ezreal trying to get in there, get a potential steal, not gonna happen. Now they've got Baron, they've got Soul, and they've got Dreadful.
Yep. I think really now Valpo is looking to end this game. Maybe take a couple of, yep, here's the last round of backs before they try and end this. You do have the Rabadons now on Ari. You have you have a stopwatch actually sold for the crit cloak on Jinx, which I like that as well. If she gets singled out in this next fight, stopwatch is going to be essential for her, making sure that she just stays alive, being that main source of damage for Valpo. I think this is going to be the first fight we see really Anaya in like a 5v5 scenario. We saw a couple 4v4s in the top side, but now really going to have that effect. Still sitting on a TP here, but looks like they will not try and, even risk a split lane push or anything. They're going to force a 5v5 and end this damn game.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes playing the top lane not as fun, but it's about
Nope,
the
here's a
team
fight,
and
and there's the dash up as well. The arc coming from Maokai. We might see this a little bit earlier. Anaya jumps in. The Seraphine are hitting Orin. There's the knockup from Vector as well. Orin ult coming out, maybe looking for a huge chance. And Chikimbo on the right side as well. Dreadful's now getting the chance to shred, and there's the reset he's looking for. Here he comes. He's running down this lane. There's the double kill. Looking for maybe the triple kill. Jumping in. Jakimbo trying to get to his backside. The flash as well. The reset gets the double. Dreadful finishes off the turrets on the backside. And that's going to be a 5-0 ace for Valpo. That's going to be game. 2-0 win in the first stage of groups for Valpo against Holy Cross. I mean, really rough early start, right? But that's not what Valpo drafted for. That's not what they were looking for. They were really, really looking for these fights around this mid to late game. And we saw after that Baron, giving all 5 of those to Dreadful was just the game-changing move right there.
yeah, I mean, this was just the game of Dreadful. He absolutely dominated. We're looking at the statistics screen right now. 43,000 damage on the Jinx here. Able to secure the comeback win in game number 2 for Valpo. I mean, it wasn't pretty, but it ends up 2-0. So,
hmm
on paper, not much
Yeah.
difference. So,
Sometimes that's all you have to ask for, right? Is
yeah.
that although you start off a little bit rough, right? As long as you play to your team, you play to your comp, what you drafted for, right? Things will go your way. And we really saw Valpo kind of shake off that rust, shake off that kind of losing streak that they had, come back with a new mental, and play to their best this game.
Yeah, I mean, very resilient, especially to come back after being down in that second game, after how long the first game went. I'm glad they won game 2 because I did not want to sit here and pass the third game. So they will be back in action tomorrow. Not sure yet if we're going to be streaming that one. Lots of things happening with the year closing out, finals week for everyone. But if we do, we'll keep you posted. So give us a follow on the Twitter in the bottom.
I
Any
mean,
final thoughts here before we close this one out?
I'm just happy to see him back.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be back here. Honestly, I'm happy to cast him. It's always fun watching this team play. But
Yes.
thank you everyone for all the support. Thank you for all the follows, all the watches. And go Valpo. I'm your host Dikembe. It's my
I'm
co-host.
Mike.
And thank you everyone for coming out. We'll see you guys soon.